In 1995, something happened that shouldn't have been possible. Scientists released 14 wolves into Yellowstone National Park. 14 animals. That's it. 70 years, wolves had been gone. 70 years, the ecosystem had forgotten they existed. But when those 14 wolves came back, something started changing. And we're not talking about elk populations. We're not talking about predator-prey balance. We're talking about rivers. The rivers changed. Not because wolves built dams, not because wolves moved. Water, not because of anything you'd expect, but the rivers physically transformed. They changed shape, changed direction, changed what they could support. 14 wolves. No human intervention, no dams, no construction. They just rewrote the landscape. How does that even happen? And more importantly, what does that mean about power? Here's what makes this story impossible. Wolves don't touch rivers. They don't build dams. They don't move dirt. So how did they change the physical shape of the landscape? Let me paint the picture first. Yellowstone in 1925. Wolves are gone. For 70 years, there are no wolves. What happens? The elk population explodes. We're talking nearly 100,000 elk in a park that can only sustainably support maybe $15,000. They're everywhere. They're grazing everywhere. They're eating everything. But here's what nobody talks about. The elk aren't just eating grass, they're specifically eating the vegetation along rivers. Willows, aspens, the dense vegetation that holds riverbanks together. Year after year, elk graze everything down to nothing. The riverbanks collapse. Without vegetation to hold the soil, erosion accelerates, rivers become cloudy, sediment fills the water. The rivers warm up, fish die. The ecosystem is literally collapsing. But nobody blames the elk. Everyone blames the system. The ecosystem is broken, scientists say. We need to fix it. Nobody realizes they're looking at the symptom, not the disease. The disease is, there are no wolves. Then, 1995 happens. 14 wolves arrive. What happens next is where the story gets strange. The first thing wolves do, they start hunting elk, but not all elk. That would be impossible. 14 wolves, 100,000 elk. They can only hunt about one elk every 10 days. So what happens? The elk learn fear, and that fear changes everything. The elk stop grazing in open areas. They move to dense vegetation, to riverside valleys, to places where they can escape quickly. It sounds simple. It sounds insignificant, but that behavioral shift, that fear-driven migration, triggers a cascade. Within months, the willows along riverbanks stop getting eaten as heavily. Within 1 year, willows that haven't grown in 70 years start coming back. Within 3 years, riverside vegetation is recovering dramatically. Now here's where it gets mind-bending. Those willows create shade. Shade cools the water. Cool water means fish can survive. Trout populations that had collapsed start recovering. Water birds return. Fish-eating birds haven't been seen in Yellowstone in decades. They come back, but the story doesn't stop there. Those willows also hold riverbanks together. Scientists measured it. In some areas of Yellowstone, the rivers literally changed their physical dimensions. They stopped widening into shallow, eroded channels. They became narrower, deeper, clearer. The rivers physically transformed, and we can see it. Scientists have actual measurements. Photographs from 1990 versus 2010. The difference is undeniable. But wait, it gets even more wild. Beaver dams. The returning willows created perfect beaver habitat. Beavers hadn't been seen in Yellowstone in generations. Then, slowly, they come back. And beavers build dams. Those beaver dams created wetlands. Wetlands created habitat for birds, fish, amphibians, insects. An entire ecosystem exploded from beaver. Dams, which existed because willows grew back, which grew back because elk were scared of wolves, which happened because 14 animals were released. 14 wolves triggered. Willows. Willows created beavers. Dams created wetlands. Wetlands created everything. Cascading chain reaction from 14 animals. But here's what absolutely breaks your mind. Scientists started looking at other ecosystems. Sea otters in kelp forests off. California, remove the otters? Sea urchins explode. They eat all the kelp. The forest dies. Bring back the otters. The forest resurrects. Within years, sharks in the open ocean. Remove the sharks, mid-sized predators explode. They eat all the smaller fish. The entire food web collapses. Bring back the sharks, the ocean rebalances. Jaguars in South American rainforests. Remove the jaguars. Large herbivores explode. They eat all the vegetation. The forest structure collapses. Bring back the jaguars. The forest regenerates. It's the same pattern everywhere. Every single ecosystem. One apex predator removed, and everything cascades into collapse. Restored, and everything cascades back to health. This is not coincidence. This is architecture. These predators aren't just hunters. They're engineers. They're designers of entire worlds. A wolf doesn't know it's controlling river shape. A tiger doesn't know it's designing forest structure. Shark doesn't know it's orchestrating ocean balance. They're just hunting, just surviving, just doing what they do. But in doing that, they're shaping reality itself. And when you remove them, everything collapses. Not immediately, but inevitably, because the entire structure of the world depends on them. This is the empire rule, Tate. Most powerful species on Earth isn't the one that hunts the most. It's the one that, through sheer existence, holds the entire ecosystem together. The one that everything else depends on. Without even knowing it, the wolf didn't change the river. The wolf created a world where rivers could exist, where ecosystems could thrive, where life could flourish. That's not hunting, that's architecture, that's empire. So the next time you see a wolf in a documentary, you're not looking at a predator, you're looking at a master architect, a designer of worlds, a creature so fundamental to how reality works that when you remove it, the entire system collapses. And here's the question that should terrify you. If one wolf can hold an entire ecosystem together, what happens when we remove multiple species? What happens when we disrupt the entire web? What happens when we forget that we're part of this system too? If you want to understand these hidden rules, the ones that actually govern how the world works, subscribe. We're uploading a new hidden rule every Monday and Friday. Next video, the island controlled by one species, where a single creature built an entire ecosystem from nothing, and what happens when that species is threatened. See you there.